We knew this day was coming. And if you haven't heard, you should have. I'm sure you have. But David Schwartz, he's stepping down as CTO of Ripple by the end of this year. And he's telegraphed this move in the past. When we entered this year, I said, let us make it through this bull run before David retires. But it ain't going to matter. Look, the true test of anything, whether it's a technology, a company, does it outlast you? Does it continue to grow after you've stepped down or you've moved on? And David's genius in building this XRP ledger will do exactly that. We're on this track and nothing is stopping this. And the good news is David's not going away. He's just not going to be CTO of Ripple. He's going to be part of the board, which in some ways is more important than a CTO. But further, he's going to be dabbling and building things, which is kind of where he should be. To me, he's not a suit. He's not a business person. You want him in the lab, building, testing things, doing whatever creativity comes to mind with this technology. I think that's where he's at his best anyway. So I would look at it as we're not, losing a CTO. We're gaining another, world-class dev once again, because it's been a while since he's really, I think, been the driving force there at Ripple. But on his side projects that he's working on, he will be exactly that. He will be the visionary. He will be the one actually getting in there and building stuff. And we'll go over some different ways that may play out and actually be bullish at the end of the day. Let's take a look at this from David here. He's talking about, look, this has been a long journey, 40 years, NSA, meeting Arthur, Jed, and Chris, launching the XRP ledger, building Ripple, 13-year journey there in its own right. A lot going on here, but he says the time has come for him to step away from his day-to-day duties as Ripple CTO at the end of this year. He's looking forward to spending more time with his family. Great. But he's not walking away from the XRP community, and I believe that. I think he is engaged. He's talked about he's running a validator now. He's doing different stuff. You could tell he's gearing up for this exact moment. He says, you haven't seen the last of me, not now, not ever. The last few months, he's been tinkering on the side, spinning up his own XRP ledger node and publishing its output data, researching other use cases for XRP besides what Ripple's focused on. So David can jump in here, and it may be he starts his own company that's not competitive with Ripple. It could be just he builds a technology, a use case, and someone else runs with it. Who knows what he's going to do? He can do whatever he wants, but it's time. You've known this time is coming, and again, I don't think it's going to affect anything. If nothing else, David's going to get to really dig in there and work on things that he purely believes is interesting, not just what the company needs him to focus on, which I think is the highest and best use of his talents. Monica Long says this mighty community wouldn't exist without David. The XRP ledger, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people. You had Jed with the visionary of saying, you know what, we want to do Bitcoin without mining. You had Arthur, who I believed contributed the DEX and had lots of big ideas. But, he's talking about when you look at the XRP ledger, it is David Schwartz and Monica Long listing out proof of association, the DEX, smart escrows, continuous auctions and an AMM. This guy, most, big advancements in the space, a lot of them originated from David and the work he was doing. And I'll tell you this, I put a post up, who's contributed more to crypto, Satoshi or David? Of course, Satoshi solving the double spend problem, of course, launched this whole industry off. But, David, he's up there because I'll tell you this, when you look across blockchain, people once attacked the XRP ledger, but most things today, most blockchains look closer to XRP than they do the Bitcoin blockchain. Proof of work is not the main driver of blockchain technology out there today. And again, a lot of the stuff that he was working on early, even stuff like smart contracts that they're working on at Ripple, not David specifically, but this is where this comes from. His creativity, the team around him, most blockchain kind of mirrors his concepts more than anyone else. So the guy is an absolute legend. And I put this up today. How cool would it be if David was heading to Consensus to build out Swift's new cross-border payment system? The comments in this thread, people did not think that would be cool at all. I just hope that he's able to get in there and do some really interesting work and do what he finds the most fulfilling, because we might get some really killer technology from him if he's not bogged down by corporate work that he has to do. David's going to go on to do even bigger and better things, in my opinion here. I put this up, a little bit confusion. I said, October is shaping up to be a historic month for altcoins. The SEC now faces 16 ETF deadlines: XRP, Solana, Cardano, DOGE, Litecoin, and HBAR. And what's interesting, October 2nd, I believe, is the Litecoin deadline. Now, this is where it gets strange because they streamlined the process. So did that reset these deadlines in some way? I can't get a clear answer there. I don't think so. I don't think it's about changing the deadlines. From everything I'm reading, to me, this is about making it easier to approve. But again, I'm no security attorney. I don't know. But if these deadlines stand, if October 2nd is really the deadline, this is my mind. They're not going to approve Litecoin and give it a head start against these other ones. I think that the SEC will give sweeping approval for all of them. If Litecoin is given the go, XRP, Solana, ADA, DOGE, and HBAR, I think they all are going to be given approval. It could be as early as October 2nd. We'll see. I mean, I'm not making a prediction, but I do predict that once they finally give the go-ahead, it's going to be a clear launch for all of these tokens. I don't think they're going to stagger it and give any of the different tokens an advantage over the other. Now, we have a lot of pushback from the banking industry. They don't like what crypto is doing, and we have Paul Gruel here from Coinbase. He's telling us why. Let's give it a listen here.
I think anyone can understand sort of the current state of play when it comes to their deposits at banks. Even though funds rates are something like 4.75% or even higher, that's the rate that the banks themselves enjoy. If you have a basic checking account or savings account, you're lucky if you get maybe 0.25%. That's not real economic value for consumers. And in contrast, as you point out, on Coinbase and on other platforms, you can enjoy well in excess of 4% for the stable coins that you hold. I think that the basic message here is that we want to allow platforms like Coinbase, as well as others, to share the economic benefits of these networks with the people who participate in them. Unfortunately, the banks lost that battle and want to continue to fight it, even though this has long been resolved by the Genius Act.
So this is the thing. The banks are pushing for this market structure bill that's coming out for crypto. They want the SEC to walk back some stuff from the Genius Act because they're scared, because they're like, look, they don't offer you on just a basic checking account. Maybe a CD or some high yield savings, but your basic checking account, you're not getting anything. But when you look at some of these fintechs and these crypto companies, you can hold money in stable coins, which in a lot of ways is more usable than the cash in your bank account, and you can actually earn some interest. I mean, these tech companies are going to go out here and capture, a lot of this business. We've heard from all the way back the Bill Gates days. We need banking. We don't really need banks, right? So this is scary. They don't want to start passing that interest on to customers for their general checking accounts. Of course, it's a lot of money annually that they are siphoning off for themselves. And so they're really trying to push hard, but I don't think they're going to get it. This is already out the gates. This is exactly what you're going to see is stable coins, tech companies, more interest being passed on to the customers and a better user experience. And they are scared, and they should be, because again, it's going to be a more usable system, faster, cheaper, more efficient. You can track and trace all your payments, and you're going to earn more interest. Who isn't going to use this system of the future? It's a no-brainer.
Now, the Blockchain Association actually put out a letter yesterday urging congressional leaders to keep the Genius Act as is, reaffirming the digital asset industry's belief in the Genius Act, wanting it to stay as it stands. Banks are trying to change the language through the Clarity Act, which is currently circulating now through the Senate. So what do you think happens there? And did Coinbase have any part in that Blockchain Association letter that was released yesterday? Well,
we certainly lent our voice to this debate, and we're encouraged that the Senate is working diligently on passing its version of the Clarity Act so that we have a complete market structure for crypto that's been long overdue. Genius was an important first step, but was only the first step, and it's critically important that Congress finish the job. We think it would be a terrible mistake for that final act of this legislative effort to be stalled or impacted in some way by the banks attempting to relitigate this issue of rewards for stablecoins, when it's much more important that Congress, and the Senate in particular, focus on establishing who is responsible for overseeing crypto at the federal level, assigning jurisdiction to the respective agencies as is appropriate, and creating the final stability and permanent structure that we need for crypto.
And I think that really banks are going to be fighting an uphill battle here. And the reason for that is the government wants stable coins because, again, in a over trustless rails, they can zip dollars into all sorts of territories. We've talked about this a bunch of times. This is why it is, so popular. You're going to have more people using the dollar, which is what they want. They want to expand the dollar and its use across all sorts of territories, and you just can't stop it because even though you have counterparty risk with these stable coins, they run over trustless rails, so there's no stopping it. They love it, and also it's a driver of treasury demand. I don't think they're going to walk anything back here. We got to get the rest of this regulations done because, again, you don't know what the future holds and, who's going to be in charge of the SEC, and you don't want them to easily be able to attack this space. You want that stuff codified for the future because that's really what's going to allow, people to come in here, make big investments, and build the future here. Someone asked me yesterday if I could do more info on the XAO DAO. So every day on X, I'm going to be releasing some sort of video that talks about functionality, vision, where this is going. So if you're interested, follow me on X, look for those videos. I had one today about how the XAO DAO is going to make strategic investments and really spur growth on the XRP ledger and make grants and the XAO hub and all sorts of stuff. Check that out. And there'll be a new one tomorrow. I'll try to keep those rolling out every day. Near, this is interesting. This is another investment by Ripple, much like Flare, because they found this really interesting. And we see Near's doing this deal with Cardano. And really, this is about chain abstraction, abstracting away the complications of cross-chain interaction. And we see Cardano and Near intents are live. Swaps ADA across 20 chains, 100 assets such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, USDC, USDT, and more. No bridges, AI ready, privacy first infra, powered by Near intents. So Near's one, man. I thought it would be the SWI of this run. I thought it was going to be really big, and it still can do a lot because chain abstraction is so important. No one has got it right yet. We should be able to just do transactions, and it just happens on whatever blockchain it needs to. That's what they're working on. Of course, this was an AI-first company. I think Near's going to do some good work, but this is a big deal between Cardano, Near. Let's see how it plays out here. But most people don't know that. They know all about the Flare investment by Ripple because of the drop, of course. We all got FLR. They don't know that Ripple was really an early investor in Near as well. And as part of this chain abstraction is why they made that investment. I like this account, Leader Alpha. Now, he's kind of reminds me of a Scams, right? And so we're going to go through his posts here. And let's talk about, is he being a little bit too much on the doom and gloom side of things? First, he says CTO David Schwartz plans to depart before the end of the bull run. I'd rather David stuck around until the bear market, but again, we've talked about this. It's been a while since David has been really the driving force of actually building it at Ripple. So I think if you get him out of that corporate environment, get him out there in the real world, building stuff on the XRP ledger, that's kind of exciting, building out new use cases that really Ripple's not trying to. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. BlackRock adds Ethereum RLUSD with XRP ledger promises. Again, that's going to happen. I'm not worried about that at all. And RLUSD use is massively bullish, and they're going to pivot over. They're going to be using XRP ledger. SWIFT replaces Ripple overnight. I've seen a lot of people pitching this idea. Remember, the idea was not to work with SWIFT, but to battle SWIFT for that marketplace. So the fact that they're working with Consensus, they're trying to do their own blockchain stuff. They're a little bit late. They should have got on this some time ago, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Ripple wants to do battle though with SWIFT, not be partners. So that I think is a little bit too far on the bearish side. 8x more RLUSD on Ethereum than XRP Ledger. Look, that's where the liquidity is right now, but I think it's going to build on XRP Ledger. I think it will surprise people here in the coming months. Google Payments Network partners with Sui. Again, great blockchain, no big deal. And lastly, XRP holders sell for Flare. I mean, most XRP holders are not selling their stash for Flare, but I do like Flare, and I'm sure many of you do as well. You should and very well can have multiple tokens, so that's just kind of a little bit over the top. I do like Leader Alpha, though, but he's a little bit extreme in reality when you break it down. A few weeks back, almost all of the wallets got compromised. And if you had to do a transaction, the only way you could do so safely was not using a software wallet. You had to use a hardware wallet so you could see the actual transaction in its entirety before you approved it. Still a firm believer that you need to use hardware wallets in your security. Affiliate links down below for Ledger And I'm telling you, moving into the bigger screen compared to what we're used to, this little tiny screens where you got to push on stuff is really nice. I believe the Ledger Flex is the best deal if you want to jump up to those little bit bigger screens. Of course, their flagship model, the Ledger Stacks, is great too. You see them right there. Affiliate link down below if you want to get yourself a hardware wallet and you want to help out the channel. Use those links. Check them out. Again, I still believe that using a hardware wallet is important for your crypto security. SEC weighs plans to allow blockchain-based stock trading amid crypto push. This is the future. We know BlackRock wants to do this. They want to start their own stock exchange in Texas with the idea that it will be on-chain and autonomous. And, this is just the way this is going to go. BlackRock also believes the ETF isn't just a wrapper, that it's an actual technology and that it will be implemented through blockchain. Your traditional type of brokerages and traditional people and even some of the hedge funds are pushing back against this. They don't want this. They like the old system. Doesn't matter what anyone likes. This will go forward. You best believe it here. Spot Bitcoin ETFs took in $7.8 billion in Q3. Now, $21 billion year to date and $57 billion since inception. Solid climb up. Yet some people are miserable because they live in a fantasy world where they expect $1 trillion a day every single day. Look, remember where we've come from. We've come a long ways. We don't have to fight regulators so much anymore. We actually have a clear path to adoption. This is a bullish time. Yes, we're wading through some muck and mire here. The market's trading down and sideways a bit. We're going to come firing out of this before too long. And pretty soon, we're going to have a lot of altcoin ETFs that are also driving these inflows in short order, hopefully this month coming up here. Lastly, the U.S. government will shut down. How long will it be? I don't know. Traditionally, not a big deal, right? Usually we're back up and running in no time, and it's actually a bullish time to buy the dip, really. Different environment now. I don't know I'm not Nostradamus. I can't tell you what's going to happen here. The longest shutdown ever was 35 days under President Trump during his first term. We'll see here, but I think it's going to be just fine. I think we'll get something done here, and October is going to be Uptober once again, and it's going to take us into a Santa rally, and I think we're going to have a strong finish to this year. Let me know what you think down below. As always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Inc. What is up, good people? Jungle Inc. here. I'd like to invite you to the new podcast. Crypto Eddie and myself are launching 3 big waves. Go over to X, link down below and in the pinned comment. Check it out. We have our pilot episode up right now where we cover the launch of MXRP, a little bit of Flare, DeFi and the XRP ledger. We're going to have a whole lot more coming out here. I hope to see you over there. Again, link down below. Go to X, follow the 3 Big Waves podcast where we delve into AI, blockchain, and global finance. Looking forward to seeing you there.